Good evening. Minister of Customs Peter Nielsen has just signed an order banning the further export of native timber. Details aren't yet clear, but it's understood stocks already held by the Bluff chip mill or native bush already felled is exempt from the ban. Meanwhile, Barney Barrett, the Tuatapere farmer at the centre of last week's accelerated logging protest, says he's getting a hard time. He's alleging anonymous phone calls threatening his deer herd. The police are investigating. A Dunedin woman who was shot through the window of her South Dunedin home on Sunday night was today well enough to tell the police what happened. She described events leading up to the shooting, but wasn't able to give a detailed description of her assailant. Kathy Graham reports.
According to neighbours, the family at number 75 were recent arrivals. Those we spoke to today didn't know them and were unaware a shotgun had been fired until the police arrived at the scene.
Just sounded like a car backfiring. This is what everyone here thought.
Police now know that the assailant probably saw the woman. She says she went to the window expecting her husband.
She heard a car pull up outside, checked to see the car was a Hillman Hunter, obviously not her husband. She says that she saw then the formation of a male person, or a person that she took to be a male person, inside the property boundary, walking towards the window. She had pulled the curtain back to see through there, of course. She then closed the curtain, was walking back to the centre of the room and felt something hit her back.
What hit her was a barrel load of pallets. Because she drew the curtains again, police believe the gunman must have fired blind. 6 detectives are working on the case. They're looking for a white Hillman Hunter like this and any other leads.
It is known that the lady's husband had an affiliation with a particular gang. Whether it is gang-related, we don't know at this point in time.
It may cost Dunedin ratepayers $30 million to clean up the Tahuna sewage plant over the next 5 years. For that price, the city should get cleaner beaches and seawater and sweeter smelling air. But as Kim Hurring reports, even that $30 million won't mean fully treated sewerage.
The treatment plant at Tahuna is a primary system, which means it physically removes solids from our daily waste. A secondary system would do the job biologically, satisfying environmental lobby groups, but it would cost up to $25 million. By today's standards, Tahuna is unsophisticated, and because it has major problems, it's become Dunedin's least acceptable treatment plant. Sludge and fats are removed from large settling tanks and after a dewatering process end up solid enough to burn in a large incinerator. Floating plastic is meant to be removed too, but some still manages to get through the net. And eventually the waste, minus most of its solids, end up here in the water just off Lawyer's Head. The trouble is, some solids, fats and plastics are getting through the system and turning up on Tomahawk Beach. A clean-up group gathered this in a few hours recently. And the beach is considered unsafe for swimming or fishing. In the next 5 years, the council's considering spending $30 million, most of which would go on a longer outfall from Lawyer's Head.
With a good ocean outfall, we will get good dilution and we will get a significant protection for the beach and the bathing water. But public perception may change within this decade and it may demand secondary treatment, even if the engineers believe that it may not be necessary. It has been found elsewhere that the public want more than the engineers believe may be truly necessary.
The council may shortly be forced into spending big money. Even if the public doesn't demand a cleaner process, it's likely the Minister of Conservation would not allow the present discharge to continue.
There are new buzzwords travelling through the tourist industry. They're talking about green tourism and anti-tourists. And at a tourism conference held in Invercargill recently, Stewart Island was named as an ideal place for it. Bill Cockram explains.
In the jargon of the trade, the green or anti-tourist is the person who wants to avoid mass tours. If you listen to this Australian, then we ignore at our peril the trend away from package tours. The world wants to shed polluted shadows for our bright green space, but Jacqueline Huey says it wants it on its own. We should aim for the select wealthy, not the masses. With the right approach, there's cake to be had and eaten as well, it seems.
Doing it this way will make you money. If, on the other hand, you stand in front of the tractor and block all development and growth, then, you know, maybe the sackcloth and ashes suit you. I don't want it.
She preaches a sort of holistic gospel of tourism. She eulogises about our greenness, but criticises us for being obsessive about the environment to the exclusion of our architecture, our culture, our cuisine. The smartly laundered dollar may bring more than the unwashed one.
The more educated they become, there is a ratio between education, money, and appreciation of the environment. Now, if we're getting a little bit elitist here, elitist simply means selective. Yes.
Win the Niche Market, and Jacqueline Huey reckons arguments between developers and environmentalists will be irrelevant.
A Mosgiel woman has won a national award for helping herself and helping other people at the same time. 2 years ago, at the age of 56, Margaret Ducras plucked up the courage to seek help for her lifetime habit of stuttering. She says she hasn't looked back. Michael Lynch reports.
What is it? That's too late.
It's easy to poke fun at stutterers. Television does it.
Still, we shouldn't mock the afflicted, should we? Pity about it.
Many of us have memories of the stuttering classmate, picked on by teachers and other pupils. Trouble was, the more the borax was ground in, the worse the problem got. Margaret Ducras knows what it's like. She's stuttered since the age of 12.
I feel very much for teenagers. In your teens, if we all look back to our own, we know that was the age that we were very prickly and weren't wanting to be told much. And it is the age where they strike more teasing. A very hard age to handle that. So we want to help them, but the desire to do something has to come from within those people themselves. There's no magic. It's hard work.
It took Margaret 40 years, but she plucked up the courage, got professional help, and now is the key southern link in the National Speak Easy Association, a stutterers' self-help group.
They find that, yeah, this can work. Yes, and even sometimes it does work. And then it starts to work more often. And you build your self-esteem. Your self-esteem has gone zonk, you see. And you're scared to speak out on anything, about anything you hide. And you find you can.
The need for help isn't going away. 1% of the population's afflicted, 4 times as many men as women. And like dealing with stroke victims, other people's best intentions often have the worst effects.
Don't try and say the word for them. It's on the cards you're going to say the wrong word anyway, so the person has to start all over again.
But virtually anyone's stutter can be fixed, says Margaret, and she should know.
Stick with it. We all have our bad days, but we will improve tomorrow. And for the ones who still haven't got round to asking for help, go on, it's great.
And you're great too. And if you want to get in touch with Margaret's Association, the phone number is Dunedin 897 370. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.